We're going to be counting on these tough new penalties from the federal government that they hope will stop Australia's biosecurity laws being undermined. New biosecurity legislation has been passed by the Parliament, and it means that if people do not comply with Australian law and our biosecurity compliance, that they can be fined a maximum penalty of $1.11 million per offence. The Australian government's going to crack down further on those who flout our laws. The legislation that they introduced has given courts access to higher penalties that reflect the true seriousness of non-compliance. Says the Minister for Agriculture, Drought and Emergency Management, David Littleproud, that the Biosecurity Amendment or Strengthening Penalty Bill 2021 will send a clear message to individuals and companies who put Australia's $61 billion agricultural industry and over $1 trillion in environmental assets by contravening the Biosecurity Act of 2015 at risk. The clear message is that the fine of up to $1.11 million, they could get jail time, and that these laws, if passed by the Parliament, that will ensure these increased penalties. They've already got the ability to cancel visas for travellers coming into Australia for breaching biosecurity laws, and that they've already turned around 14 travellers and sent them packing at their own cost. Biosecurity system protects our agriculture, tourism and other industries, with our plant, animal health and environment a key market. And that, says David Littleproud, the Australian government is continually reviewing the effectiveness of the Biosecurity Act, and that the new legislation is just one part of a suite of legislative and administrative changes that the government says it's striving to protect Australia from people who are determined not to comply with our biosecurity requirements in the face of increasing global threats. Of course, how do you enforce things like ships coming into port where ballast is transferred into our ports? I mean, you've got pests that can be in that ballast that have been taken in from other ports, and I mean, they can overtake our own fishery and cause damage to it. Or how about the biosecurity of our beehives with varroa mite, the possibility of that being brought into our country? Yes, there are a number of ways in which our biosecurity can be put at risk. The new penalties will build on the response that the government has through the Inspector General of Biosecurity, and that the things that they did a review on, like the uncooked prawn imports, the effectiveness of biosecurity controls involving a consideration of stronger penalties for serious non-compliance of that particular issue. It just shows you that our fisheries are under threat, and our biosecurity in a whole range of areas, like our beehives, that could come under threat. So big fines for those that actually do threaten them from overseas. But mind you, the corporations that do so, big ship coming into port, hundreds of millions of dollars of assets that are being moved around the world, $1 million for a fine. Well, maybe that's a tough fine for some, but maybe for other big corporations it may not be as big as what we think.